So yesterday I did a video after the PlayStation 5 Pro reveal, and I kind of went over my initial, basically just shock of the whole announcement and the presentation that Mark Cerny and Sony revealed at the little trailer event that they did yesterday with the PlayStation 5, and I just kind of gave my overall thoughts of everything. And I had the whole night to really kind of sit back and just kind of let it marinate and see what the rest of the internet was really kind of feeling on the whole PlayStation 5 Pro situation. I was really kind of like people that I follow. I really went and just saw what they thought, because I did my video directly after the presentation and gave my thoughts on the Pro, and I was really negative, and I wanted to really just kind of let it sit in my mind for the rest of the night and just think about it. And I think I'm more upset today than anything. And I think the reason why I'm upset, here's the thing, guys. I am lucky enough that I grew up in basically the beginning of the gaming generations. You know, like I started with Nintendo in the 80s. I wasn't around for the initial Atari 2600, and the video game crash happened a year before I was born. But I was fortunate enough to grow up with Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, and being able to be a gamer through all those many years and decades. And the thing that I have a problem with the PS5 Pro, more importantly, is what it does for the gaming industry and what it represents going forward. You know, the thing is, when the PS4 Pro came out, people really didn't backlash against the PS4 Pro because the PlayStation 4 went down in price, and basically the PS4 Pro kind of replaced that initial release price of the PlayStation 4. We're not seeing that with this generation. Normally, video game consoles, they go lower in price. They come out with slim models, which are cheaper, less cost effective to make. We're not seeing that anymore. And the problem with this is, I feel like with Sony not having any real competition, they now dictate the market, and they can just kind of put prices. Like, we have $70 games because PlayStation did that. PlayStation was the one that came out and said, we are marking our games at $70. You know, they are the market leader. So what they say goes, because they are the big market leader. Xbox is non-existent at this point. And don't get me wrong. I'm an Xbox fan. I like the Xbox. I love the Xbox IP. But as an Xbox fan, you have to be realistic and be like, Microsoft is not in the game right now. Microsoft is worried about third-party games, releasing games, PlayStation, releasing games everywhere. They're worried about making money. Whereas PlayStation is still going with the old school, we got exclusives and all this stuff, much like Nintendo. But Nintendo, they're the smartest out of all three companies, because they're still making games that are fun. Like, they're not relying on games with hyper-realistic graphics. They're making games that are fun. So yesterday, PlayStation 5 announced the PS5 Pro, and it just kind of blew me away that we are charging $700 for practically nothing. Like, the upgrade that you get with the PS5 Pro is so microscopic that you would need to pull out a magnifying glass in order to really see a difference. And that is the problem I have. You're charging $700. You're not even including a plastic stand for this premium price console. You're not lowering the price of your PS4 base or your PS5 base console. And you also had to buy a disc drive. So if you're someone who bought a disc PS5 and you have a library of PS5 games like I do, in order to take advantage of this console, you would also have to buy the disc attachment for an extra 80. So now we're talking about 780 plus tax. You're talking about over $800 here in the US. It's way more in other parts of the world for something that is very minimal upgrade. Very minimal upgrade. And here's the thing. Most people won't even notice. Like you see the memes going on over on Twitter all the time. Like, you're going through Twitter and you see people just kind of like looking at it like I'm looking for the difference, right? If you're playing on a monitor, right? Like I game on a 32-inch monitor, right? I would have to be sitting so close to that monitor to see the difference that this PS5 Pro is actually giving me in order for it to like mean anything. It doesn't make like in the presentation, they zoom into the background in order to show us, oh, look, we cleaned it up a little bit. It's a little bit clearer. You know, it's such a small upgrade that it really doesn't make any sense. And the thing is, okay, so I told him I was going to bring him up in this video. So my brother-in-law, he's a PlayStation fan, right? I would call him a pony. He's a pony, right? Like PlayStation this, PlayStation that, refuses to touch an Xbox or whatever, you know. But he was home yesterday, and I live with him and my sister-in-law and my wife, and we were talking about it, and I'm like, dude, this is crazy. And he basically said, yeah, my sister-in-law, his girlfriend, was like, you know, asking him if someone would buy it for him, would he want it? And I'm like, bro, it completely doesn't, like, it will do nothing for you. And what I mean by it will do nothing for you is that he is not a hardcore gamer. He plays 3 games a year, and it's the same 3 games every year. It's on rotation. Madden, NBA, Call of Duty, maybe MLB The Show. Those 4 games every year he buys the upgrades every year. So every year it comes out 2K5, 2K26, 2K20. Like he buys those games. He's not playing The Last of Us. He's not playing Horizon Forbidden West. He's not playing God of War Ragnarok. He's not playing Spider-Man. So I told him, I'm like, no, like why would you buy that? Because the games you're playing aren't even the games that are going to get the upgrades. So you have a PS5. The games you play work on your PS5. The PS5 Pro is not going to make Madden look any better. It's not. It's not one of those games. The PS5 Pro is for those first party and third party games that run in performance mode and looks kind of blurry, now look crystal clear. That's what it is. That's what it is. You want to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with a little bit sharper image? That's what it is. So I told him, like, that's completely it's completely asinine for you to go out and get a PS5 Pro, right? And I told my wife, I looked at her and I was like, if you get me a PS5, my wife would never get me a PS5 Pro because she's not even into the gaming atmosphere. But just to kind of make my point to him, I looked at my wife, I'm like, if you buy me a PS5 Pro, that is basically enough for me to say I want a divorce. You know, like that's grounds for divorce if you buy me a PS5 Pro, because it doesn't make sense. You're spending $750,000 on a console. If all you're playing is Madden, Call of Duty, NBA, those aren't even the games that are getting the upgrades. And the upgrades for the games that are going to be like Last of Us, Spider-Man, the upgrade is so minimal that you're not even going to tell the difference, right? Like if you have a $3,000 to $4,000 TV, you have a 75-inch to an 85-inch TV, you might see a difference in the background of these games. But I don't know about you, when I play games, I'm focusing on the gameplay, the games itself, like the character that I'm playing. I'm not looking at the tree far off in the distance to see, oh man, those leaves, they're a little pixelated. I'm not looking at stuff like that. I'm playing the game. Now, last year when I played Star Wars Jedi Survivor, I play all my games in performance mode, and that's something that Mark Cerny said in his presentation, that they by the metrics they come to understand that 75% of all PS5 users play games in performance mode. They want to blend in fidelity and performance mode, so you don't need to choose. You get the positives of fidelity, but with the positives of the performance, which is all great and good. But that was what you promised the PS5. You promised the PS5 was going to do that. Now you want to charge $700 without a disc drive, without a plastic stand, to give us something that you already promised us. And the thing is, the games aren't... So they announced this, and the games that they show are games that we already played and beat last year. Like, oh, we're going to demonstrate The Last of Us, a PS4 game. Right? So should I go out and buy a $700, in my case, $800 console because I need a disc drive in order to play games that I already beat in a little bit clearer picture? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I beat Jedi Survivor. Was the performance and stuff kind of wonky? Sure, they patched it up. Now it runs at 60 frames per second. Do I really want to go back and replay Jedi Survivor just because I buy a $700 console and then the stormtroopers in the background are a little bit more clear? Why would I do that? To me, that's stupid. And there are some people out there that are buying it just for clout. I follow a couple YouTubers that I really highly respect, small-time YouTubers, not big YouTubers, and they were saying, yeah, I'm buying it day one. Are you doing it just for clout? Because look, I can go out and buy one too. I can pull out my credit card and my debit card right now. I have enough money in the bank that as soon as pre-orders are available, boom, 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 I'm pre-ordering one. But why? Why would I pre-order one? Makes no sense. You're not getting any benefits. That's my biggest problem. You're not getting any benefits. You literally have to zoom all the way in order to see any type of difference. And that is the biggest problem. When you're playing a game, nobody is doing that. No, unless you're playing on a 75 to an 85-inch TV, you're not going to notice the difference. And that's the problem. We're paying so much, we're being charged so much for so little. So little. And this comes to the biggest problem of them all. And this is why I decided to make this video. Is because what this represents. It represents many things. One, it represents that both Sony and Microsoft are leaving discs in the past. Right? The fact that this does not have a disc in it is very telling. The fact that the new Xbox Series X is also discless with a 2 terabyte hard drive, and they also raised their prices up to $600 for that console, is very telling. But what's scary more than any of that is the next generation. If a mid-gen refresh is coming in at $780 plus tax, what in the world is a PS6 going to cost? What in the world is a PS6 going to cost? The economy is not in good state. People are literally struggling to pay their bills, get gas and food on the table. I am one of the lucky few out there that, as you can tell from my background, I am able to enjoy this hobby that I love called gaming. I play everything everywhere, whether it be Nintendo Switch, Xbox Series X, PC. I get to play games anywhere, any way I want. I am lucky. I am very, very extremely lucky I'm able to play this. Most households can only afford one console. When you're coming in with a mid-gen refresh at a price tag of $700 for the digital, $780 plus tax for the disc drive bundle for the whole kit and caboodle, what is that saying for the next generation with the PS6? Because I'll tell you what, it's pretty scary to think about. Normally, we always see a decrease in the price of the consoles. We are 4 years in. Go back and look at the 4-year in mark of the PS4 or the PS3. Every console has always went down in price. Not only did these consoles stay at price, Sony actually increased the price in certain markets. The prices of their controller went up $5 this past week. And that's because companies are just, it's a different time. Components cost more money. The software is not making as much money as it used to because companies like Sony are focused on Concord type games, which completely just botched and wet the bed. But if people go out and support Sony for this, if people come out and support Sony and this $700 console, it will send the wrong message. And we are going to be at a time come next generation where the PS6 will be up to anywhere between $800 to $900. And it's scary to think about. It's scary to think. Do you think a PS6 is going to cost less than a mid-gen refresh of a PS5? Like, let's use logic here. And it's crazy to think about, but we need to think about that. So it's something that a lot of people really kind of have to figure out. You know, I bought a PS3 back in 2006 when it cost $600. And guess what? Sony wet the bed. Nobody bought the PS3, and it wasn't long until they cut the prices of that. And we're starting to kind of get that way again with this PS6 Pro. It's really what it represents. Like, I can understand if you're giving a massive upgrade, you're giving us a DualSense Pro controller, a disc drive, you know, it would be an easier pill to swallow. But right now, I'm sorry, this is a massive fail, a massive L for Sony. And I think people need to kind of use logic here, because if you support them and what they're doing here, it's only going to hurt consumers in the long run. This is a very anti-consumer move, and is only going to hurt the consumer, you, me, everybody, when that PS6 comes out. And I'm telling you, it's just dark, dark days. But anyway, guys, that's all I have. Super long video. I have a lot to say on this topic. I'm probably going to do a few more videos. But right now, I just kind of want to hit on it because it's just absolutely insane to me. But thank you guys so much. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. You guys stay safe. And as always, I'm Robert Storms, and that's my opinion.